across the state of California starting January 1st, 2020.
With more than 1,200 new laws, they touch on a range of issues from gun ownership to health care.
We are the most un-Trump state in America.
Many of these new laws and regulations will rein in a new progressive shitopia in California.
And as part of our continuing search for California's gold.
Here are some of the new California laws going into effect for 2020.
Starting next school year, it will be illegal for public schools in the state to suspend students in 1st through 5th grade for willfully defying teachers or administrators.
Why? Because this is a progressive utopia and kids aren't allowed to be spanked or told what to do from their parents anymore. Duh.
Then from 2021 through 2025, it will be temporarily extended to kids in grades 6 through 8. State legislative analysts have said some schools may end up spending millions to accommodate the adjustment.
But just when you thought, hey, this could be a disaster, next thing you know, we're going to have a bunch of hoodlum kids running around going to juvenile hall. Well, nope, they've got a new law for that.
And a focus on getting under the hood of what trauma these young children had in the first place that triggered some of the activities and actions and bad decisions that led them here.
Apparently, children under the age of 12 are no longer going to be sent to juvenile hall unless they've committed a serious offense such as murder or sexual assault. They will just be sent back home to their parents.
The whole point of the bill is to make sure that we redirect them from delinquency to dependency.
Gee, I can't imagine where this could go wrong.
I don't doubt her intentions are good, but think about this for a moment. Would this entice or motivate people? Perhaps you're an 18-year-old gang member and you want to have somebody else carry the gun, carry the dope, maybe even execute the crime.
Now that it's fair game for selling drugs if you're under 12, I wonder if these children are now going to be targeted by street gangs.
Juveniles were being used by the cartel to smuggle large quantities of drugs by telling them, look, you don't have to worry. Chances are you're not going to get caught. If you do get caught, you're not going to get prosecuted.
This would make it easier for criminals to recruit children.
Say goodbye to those beach days, hanging out on the beach, smoking a cigarette or cigar, or even maybe a doobie, because it is now illegal to smoke on the beaches or at state parks in California.
Unfortunately, there are people, and I don't understand it, that do still smoke, and I don't know where they smoke because it's banned out here in all restaurants and buildings.
And violators will be charged $25 if they get caught. But hey, just another way to pull in more cash to the bankrupt state so that more of these corrupt Democrat politicians can all launder it into their pocketbooks anyway.
They used the tax dollars collected from the hardworking citizens of Bell as their own piggy bank, which they then looted at will.
California is now the first state to offer medical benefits to all adults under 25 years old, including illegal immigrants.
Regardless of immigration status, this law expands coverage to undocumented immigrants.
I wonder who's going to be paying that bill.
To pay for it, California plans to tax people, including legal residents, who don't have health insurance.
Yeah, that's right, the American taxpayers. A family of 4 would pay at least $2,000.
Others question why California would go to great lengths helping undocumented immigrants.
Immigrant rights advocates also want California to provide full health coverage to undocumented immigrants aged 65 and older.
Imagine when even more people catch wind of this and flood to California to get that free health care. I can't imagine that that's going to be a disaster. California's got a booming economy, right? They'll be able to pay for this expense.
California is losing a generation of wage earners.
The census numbers do not lie. All kinds of young professionals, some of them making decent salaries, are leaving too.
The ones who are leaving are family age people 30 to 54, that group. That's the group that's leaving.
Given that businesses are now going to be hit with a mandatory $13 an hour minimum wage and $12 an hour minimum wage for businesses with under 26 employees, they're going to have a harder time now with these annual $1 a year increases, which then stop at $15.
Minimum wage workers in Menlo Park will be getting a pay bump, but it's making things harder for small business owners.
I would have to fire almost everybody in the store and work all the hours myself.
Come December 16th, the 13 employees who've served thousands here will be out of a job. But it wasn't enough to save his business. One, he says, has been strangled by the state ramp up to a $15 an hour minimum wage. 75 to 80% of the reason why they're closing, that wage pressure.
So businesses are now going to be struggling to provide health care coverage for their employees, plus this $13 an hour minimum wage that goes up $1 every year. And somehow, this money's just all going to come from nowhere.
As an independent, Antoine's concerned about truckers being potentially reclassified as employees under a bill now moving forward at the Capitol.
I work for myself. I like being independent. I don't want to be no one's employee.
Just in case you thought you could get around the whole health care $15 an hour minimum wage kerfunkel, think again, because now they're going to make it even harder to do contracts and have private contractors work for them.
Jack Kinney, who drives for both Uber and Lyft, feels the new law threatens his freedom and flexibility.
I'm certainly not making less than minimum wage.
He has concerns that AB 5 will force companies to give employees a set schedule.
You put a schedule on me, I'm now no longer able to optimize my work time, and I'm going to make less.
Basically, if the services that the independent contractor is providing is seen as fundamental to the company, then the company would no longer be able to have them be a private contractor and would be forced to have them as an employee.
Companies like rideshare provider Lyft have said the law will force drivers to operate differently.
It would impact the ability of drivers to work whenever and wherever they want.
Typically, small businesses with less than 26 employees can't afford to pay workman's comp because the rates in California for workman's comp is so outrageously high. So most of these businesses go around this by hiring people as private contractors. Well, now that these new laws are going to come in effect, it's going to make it even harder for those businesses to do so, and thus it is going to hurt the economy in California.
Talk about a dramatic day at the Capitol. Protesters line the halls trying to stop a plan to crack down on medical vaccine exemptions. Protesters banged on the Senate doors, delaying the session by more than an hour, but the final vote went on.
Parents in California that decide to not vaccinate their children are now going to meet even more challenges with these new laws that have come into effect.
Starting in 2021, it's going to get a lot harder to get a vaccination exemption, and kids without them have to either get vaccinated or they can't attend school.
State public officials will now have new tools to crack down on doctors they claim are fraudulently giving these vaccine exemptions to parents and their children.
We have school districts receiving exemptions from physicians who basically are advertising and selling those exemptions. They're not basing them on evidence-based guidelines. They're basically letting people buy them.
We've seen some emotionally charged battles between parents who don't vaccinate their children and California public officials and school boards who are trying to mandate vaccinations for all children. Doctors are now being threatened with investigations on their medical practice if they give more than 5 vaccine exemptions a year for their business. So that means doctors are now being coerced by big government in California to vaccinate children. Otherwise, it could hurt their bottom line.
The form also requires a doctor to certify that the information she or he is providing is, quote, true, accurate, and complete. And the law says that providing false information could get that doctor in legal trouble.
Schools with vaccination rates under 95% will now be subject to investigation according to these new laws. Where's the doctor giving their own medical opinion? Are these legislators now doctors?
I myself am not a lawyer. Sometimes I act like one.
Not as often as I act as a doctor. I practice medicine on the side without benefit of diploma, too.
Whatever happened to these arguments you hear from liberals? It should be between a patient and their doctor. It should be between a patient and their doctor. But wait a second, we only hear them apply that when it comes to abortion and killing babies, which we know the Democrat Party benefits from. You know, selling those baby body parts.
Planned Parenthood is harvesting the body parts of unborn babies.
I think those decisions are best left to a woman and her doctor.
SB 142 expands requirements for lactation rooms, meaning all lactating women have to have a specific room provided to them that they don't have people coming in and out of.
New bill becomes law in California. It would require designated lactation rooms for all breastfeeding moms.
Food servers are now banned from using latex gloves.
Hospitals and food establishments across the state may be in for a big change. There's a movement in the state legislature to ban the use of latex gloves.
And of course, the new gun laws in California.
With the surge of gun violence and mass shootings at an all-time high, California's new laws are cracking down. New this year, only Californians aged 21 or older will be able to buy a semi-automatic rifle.
So you can go off to die at war at age 18, but you can't own your own gun for personal protection in California.
98% of mass public shootings have occurred in places where guns are banned, just so you understand.
But hey, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results, is the definition of insanity, and California is the land of the fruits and the nuts.
Guns are the real killer.
As if California's strict gun laws have ever deterred a mass shooting. Until you're 21, that is. If these new California laws just aren't progressive enough, now comes the grand finale. Californians may not be allowed to shower and do a load of laundry in the same day.
This one, I'm not sure how I feel about this. You're not going to be allowed to shower and do a load of laundry in the same day.
I had the same misgivings. Doing a load of laundry takes about 40 to 50 gallons of water. Taking a shower for about 8 minutes takes about 17 gallons of water. Well, there's a limitation on your daily use of water of 55 gallons per day. So that means if you are taking a shower and if doing a load of laundry, you can't do both without being in violation of the law.
Or else they could face charges of up to $1,000 a day. Or if it's during a drought period, $10,000 a day. If 55 didn't seem low enough, California is going to incrementally decrease your gallons allotment every year. The water allowance per person will decrease to 50 gallons a day by 2030. So when you're walking down the streets of LA and you happen to step in a large pile of human excrement because the outrageous homeless crisis that's being neglected by these Democrat politicians, when you get home, unfortunately, you're going to have to decide whether you wash your shit-covered shoes and socks and pants in the laundry machine or whether you shower your body.
A transient with schizophrenia and psychotic disorders dumped feces all over her.
A bucket of his diarrhea. It was liquid, hot liquid. I was soaked and I couldn't see it was coming off of my eyelashes into my eyes.
Paramedics rushed her to the hospital and she now needs to be tested for infectious diseases every 3 months.
But hey, we all want to live in a Democrat shitopia.
Now an effort to get ahead of the complaints. A poop patrol. That's right, the Department of Public Works will try to spot the mess before you do and steam clean it away.
It's a great idea. Could we get rid of the poopers as well?
Many diseases already began to be eradicated before the introduction of vaccines. Why? Because of the implementation of hygiene and sanitation. So now that Californians are going to be limited to their showering and hygiene because of water usage restrictions, what happens when you have a large influx of illegal immigrants because it's now a sanctuary city mixed with a booming and out of control homeless crisis in LA and many other large cities with shit all over the floor? This is a recipe for a pandemic that will start in California and spread to the rest of the United States. Happy New Year, Californians. Enjoy your shitopia. Remember, my work is directly funded by you, the listener. So please continue supporting my work by going to InfoWarsStore.com and making a purchase. And if you want to support me directly, you can also go to Subscribestar Millie Weaver and go on there and become